rather than just hiding from it.
If they are genuinely planning, yes. If you're a procrastinator, you must embrace the wait, but you must make the wait analytical. You have to be a stoic. You cannot panic if you don't see immediate results because you know your root system is expanding.
That is incredibly hard, though. I mean, neurologically, we want the mango tree, we want the instant sprout, we want to post a picture of our new business logo on Instagram on day one and get 50 likes so our dopamine receptors light up.
Of course. But Chanakya warns that instant wealth, unearned vertical scale, is incredibly dangerous. Sudden wealth disappears suddenly because there is no infrastructure to manage it. Look at lottery winners.
Oh, yeah.
The vast majority go bankrupt within a few years. They got the 80-foot bamboo shoot overnight without spending 7 years building the root system of financial literacy and emotional control to anchor it. The wind blows and their wealth snaps.
So if I reframe my own behavior, my laziness, my hesitation to launch, it might just be a long gestation period, a necessary incubation, as long as I am rigorously crunching the numbers and mapping the terrain.
Yes.
You are building the blueprint. Consider architecture. You do not build a 100-story skyscraper without spending months, sometimes years, on the architectural drawings, the stress tests, the zoning permits. Right. And from the outside, an architect drawing a blueprint just looks like a person sitting quietly at a desk. They don't look like they're building a skyscraper.
Exactly. The physical construction is actually the fastest, easiest part if the Aanvikshiki, the right thinking, was done perfectly beforehand. Now, to make this mental incubation phase actually translate into real, unshakable wealth, Chanakya introduces a second, deeply psychological concept. The text refers to it as the yoga of money.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because looking at my notes, you're essentially saying that if I care less about my money, if I'm emotionally detached from it, I'll actually make significantly more of it. That sounds completely backward.
It is the exact defining paradox of wealth accumulation. The desperate repel money, the indifferent attract it. Chanakya combines two seemingly contradictory ancient philosophies to create this wealth mindset. He combines yoga with lokayata.
Okay, I am going to need clear modern definitions for both of those, fast.
Let's start with lokayata. It translates roughly to practical materialism or realism. It is the philosophy of dealing strictly with the tangible, real world. Facts, hard data, things you can directly perceive and measure.
Okay.
It demands that you strip away all illusions, all wishful thinking, and all assumptions about how you want the market to behave and deal only with how it actually behaves.
Cold, hard, uncompromising reality. No rose-colored glasses.
Pure reality. And then he pairs that with yoga. Now, in the West, we hear yoga and we think of like stretching on a mat in a heated room. But in this ancient philosophical context, yoga means total equanimity. It means achieving a state where your mind remains perfectly steady, perfectly neutral, under conditions of extreme external stress or extreme external joy.
So absolutely no panic. No emotional spikes whatsoever.
Right. And here is why that is the ultimate financial superpower. Let's look at the object itself. Money has absolutely no emotions.
None at all. It's an inanimate concept.
Think about a $100 bill or a digital zero in a bank ledger. Does that $100 bill cry when you hand it to a cashier to pay an unexpected mechanic's bill?
No.
Does it throw a celebration when it gets deposited into a billionaire's offshore bank account?
Of course not. It's just paper or just a data point on a server.
Exactly. It is completely inherently neutral. It doesn't know who owns it, and it doesn't care. But we, as highly flawed humans, project wild, deeply irrational emotions onto it.
We panic when we lose it. We stress about not having enough. We celebrate arrogantly when we get a bonus. Our entire emotional state is like tethered to this neutral object.
And that emotional tethering is precisely what destroys wealth. When your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, hijacks your prefrontal cortex, your Aanvikshiki shuts down. The Stoic approach from Chanakya's text demands that you ruthlessly train yourself to treat massive profits and massive disasters exactly the same.
Wait, treat a devastating financial disaster exactly the same as a massive, unexpected profit? Humanly, how is that even possible?
By treating them both merely as neutral data inputs for your Sankhya calculations. Let's elevate this. If we connect this to the bigger picture, look at how modern, hyper-fast algorithmic stock markets operate.
Okay, let's talk about the market. It's the perfect battleground for this.
What happens when the market takes a sudden, sharp, terrifying dip? Say, a global news event causes a 10% drop in an hour.
People completely freak out. Retail investors stare at the red lines on their apps, their heart rates spike, and they panic, sell everything to stop the bleeding. They lock in their losses out of pure terror.
Right. The highly active, highly emotional people systematically destroy their own wealth. They act too fast, they feel the friction of the loss, and they try to relieve the pain by taking immediate physical action, which usually means selling at the absolute bottom.
And what about our lazy person,
Mm.
our procrastinator who is practicing yoga and lokayata?
The stoic procrastinator wins the entire game. They are literally too lazy, or rather too emotionally disciplined to constantly react. They do not check their portfolio every 5 minutes. When the market crashes, they look at the data lokayata and realize that panic selling doesn't change the intrinsic value of the underlying assets, so they hold their investment.
They just sit there on the couch, doing absolutely nothing while the world burns around them.
They sit there, they weather the storm, they let the algorithms and the emotional retail traders slaughter each other. And historically, structurally, the broad market always recovers and grows over a long enough timeline. The slow, steady, entirely unemotional holder wins the long game simply by refusing to participate in the panic.
Be a stone, just completely impervious to the emotional gravity of the money.
Be a stone. There is a famous poem by Rudyard Kipling called If, and he wrote about meeting triumph and disaster and treating those two imposters just the same. Chanakya was teaching this exact concept 2 millennia earlier.
Imposters. I love that framing. Triumph tricks you into arrogance, and disaster tricks you into despair.
Yeah.
Both cause you to make terrible decisions.
Precisely. A sudden windfall. Do not get excited, because excitement makes you reckless with spending. A sudden loss. Do not despair, because despair makes you timid and causes you to miss the recovery. Just gather the neutral data and recalculate the Sankhya.
Okay, so let me synthesize this before we move on. We have the invisible intellectual root system of Aanvikshiki, where we are calculating and planning in the shadows. And we have the emotionless, stone-like mindset of yoga and lokayata, where we refuse to react to volatility.
Yes.
But logically, I still have a major point of friction here. How does the actual physical work happen? I can't just stoically think my way into a finished product. If we don't care about the money emotionally and we refuse to participate in the physical grind, how does the kingdom actually get built?
That is the essential pivot. And it brings us to the third, deeply counterintuitive insight from the text. This is the lazy way to scale a massive operation without losing your mind.
Yes, please. If I don't want to grind 24/7, how does the heavy lifting get done?
Chanakya calls the solution the dual policy.
Dual policy, meaning two entities working together.
Yes. It is the absolute necessity of strategic partnerships and the aggressive leveraging of other people's time and energy.
Tell me more, because this sounds like the holy grail for a procrastinator.
Doing the hard, physical, or tedious work yourself is a trap. It is an ego-driven trap that limits your scale to your own 24-hour capacity.
But wait, a trap. Modern society, especially in the West, constantly tells us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We worship the solo founder. We idolize the entrepreneur who sleeps under their desk and grinds 24/7.
And that is largely survivor bias and performative hustle. Chanakya advises the exact opposite approach. He says you should never, ever work alone if you can avoid it. Why would you waste your deeply valuable Aanvikshiki time doing a repetitive task that someone else can do faster, better, and with more enthusiasm than you?
So it's literally like paying someone to go to the gym for me, but I get to keep the muscles.
No, actually, I have to stop you right there because that is exactly what you cannot do, and it's a dangerous misconception of leverage. You cannot outsource the core health of your enterprise, just like you can't outsource the physiological adaptation of your own muscles.
Ah, okay.
A much better analogy is paying someone to research the best workout routines, paying an expert to buy the optimal equipment, paying a crew to assemble that gym in your garage, and paying a chef to meal prep your perfectly macro-balanced food.
Oh, I see. I still have to lift the weights.
You still have to lift the weights because that is your core genius, your primary function, but you have successfully outsourced absolutely all of the peripheral friction that usually gives you an excuse to procrastinate. You use a lever to lift a heavy object. You use other people's specialized skills to lift your business, removing everything that drains your energy.
Strategic outsourcing.
Mm.
Removing the cognitive load of things I hate doing.
Exactly. The wealthy aggressively leverage partnerships. They don't try to be good at everything. They find people whose natural strengths perfectly cover their own natural weaknesses. And this introduces a vital, deeply psychological concept from the text, swadharma.
Swadharma. What is the translation of that?
Swa translates to your own or intrinsic. Dharma, in this specific context, translates to nature, duty, or inherent characteristic. Put together, your Swadharma is your natural, intrinsic talent. It is your unique zone of genius.
That's the thing I am naturally, almost unfairly good at.
Yes. It is the specific type of work that feels entirely effortless to you. It is the activity where you enter a flow state, where time dilates, and where you actually gain energy by doing it rather than losing energy. Chanakya's rule is that you should only do your Swadharma. You partner with or hire others to do the things you procrastinate on.
Wait, let's pause right here because this is huge. This completely reframes my guilt. Are you saying that if I am endlessly procrastinating on a specific task, it might not just be a moral failure on my part, it might actually be a biological signal that the task is simply outside of my swadharma?
Precisely. That is exactly what procrastination is in an intelligent person. When you